What's going on, guys? We're gonna do a stain today, a nice brown stain on this guitar body. And on top of that, I actually have an extra set to sell to you. I'm gonna put this on eBay and you guys can bid on this. It's a huge set. It's, I think, at least 8 inches wide by 20 something inches, 1/4 inch top. This is it on a telly body. I know, another T-style body, but hey guys, it's what sells. This is a multi-layer body. Top, middle is a wormy flame piece, ash, mahogany, maple, and then a cap of maple. At one point I screwed up the routing on this and had to put another cap on. The back is a wildwood back, which is some crazy figure. It's split, I re-glued it, but just something to play around with. In my head, I had this as a brown fade, dark brown to light brown. I don't know why. This piece of wood is outstanding. It's unbelievably beautiful. The grain is so deep. I just wanted to sort of do a simple stain with one sort of color scheme to show you just some different options. I haven't done this and it was sort of requested, but we're gonna start with dark, medium, and light. And what we're gonna do is we'll sand it back. We're not gonna do any faux binding. I don't really like the way that looks sometimes. It bleeds. This is a really hard maple top, so I don't think I'd get as much bleeding, but let's get into it. So I got a bunch of old t-shirts here. I've got a safe piece of cardboard on the bottom. I made this body, in case you guys didn't know. I still get asked that from time to time. We're using Angelus leather dyes. You can buy the 3-ounce bottles. You do not need the full bottle. I obviously do a ton of staining, so I get the big stuff, right? All right, so we're gonna start with the light brown on top, and we'll work our way down. This light brown, I don't know what colors they make anymore. I've got brown, medium brown, light brown, and dark brown. I think they make light brown, brown, and dark brown. And I think the medium and brown are about the same. This is the light. And on the top here, we're gonna sand a bunch of this out, but I at least wanted to have a little bit of color in. You can just see how beautiful this piece of wood is. And so we're essentially doing a third, and I'm gonna then go to fifths where I really sand this off, leave this, and then blend this. If that makes any sense. This has been sanded to 320. So we'll come back with medium brown. Always pour off to the side. A little bit darker. We might actually take the dark brown up a little bit further. Now we'll come back with the dark. Sometimes on these I have added black on the bottom to really darken it up. Way over poured. I think at some point someone called these a sandstorm fade. When I come back and I sand the edges, should get this to just sort of blend a little bit. Wasn't looking for that hard look. And I always keep my pinky up because I've had it drag before. and leave a mark, especially since I've got the dark stain on it. So in case you're asking, because someone has before. And so what's interesting about this is I'm getting some pooling because this wood is so hard. So there's these little pools of stain that show up. And that's just because the wood is hard and it's sanded to 320. So that happens from time to time. Come back with the light and fade it just slightly. The real big trick on this will be to do some good sanding. So I do want it just slightly darker on the bottom, so I'm going to add a little black. This always can be really tricky to do, so what I'm going to do is get a new rag, my bottle of 3 ounce, I'm just going to do some streaks like this. You can see it just darkens it up slightly, and then I'll just pick it up a little bit, and you can see the black on the spots I didn't do that earlier. So I have to be careful when I sand to make sure I clean that up. So that's all the black we want to do, just a little bit. It does darken it up nicely. Come back with the dark brown and fade it back in. That way you don't get too much black. Be careful to walk this up too far. The trick a lot of guys will do is they'll actually spray it. I don't want to do that. Alright, so we got darker, dark brown, medium brown, light brown. Fade looks okay. I definitely don't like the pooling. If I take a clean rag and run it over that, you can see it pick up the dye. This way it won't make too much of a mess. We'll just clean it up. This body is beautiful. Kind of like that the color from the top matches this piece on the side. I do have a little bit of run over, but I'll clean it up when I sand. Let this dry for about 3 or 4 hours, and then I'll come back and clean it up. Guys have said to take a dryer to it or whatever. I don't do that. Just let it dry naturally. Don't get too finicky with it. But you can definitely see the dye sitting on the top. So let it dry, come back, sand it, see what we can do. So we put on 2 coats of sanding sealer here. First coat goes on very light, second goes on a little bit heavier, and then I put 2 more coats on just to make sure that the body is sealed. And then we put some velvet oil on this. We did 2 coats of velvet oil. With that second coat of velvet oil, I actually sanded it in, which leaves this body with the smoothest feel and texture. It is really an amazing finish. I really like it. Sanded velvet oil is so smooth. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 piece body, and this flame maple gives it sort of that binding look. I thought the ash would pop a little bit. It didn't. The mahogany is what I sort of was going for in this fade. I didn't really like this color, to be quite honest. After I stained it and I was looking at the original piece, I think this will look really good with a sort of darker blue, green, red than more so the browns. I think it just sort of drowns out a little bit with the browns. That's my personal opinion. So for the buyer of this on eBay, I would say go for a blue. I think a dark blue would look outstanding with this piece of wood, or maybe even a green, but blue. Purple is kind of what I'm leaning towards in my head if I was gonna do this again, but just a sort of a light brown fade. It's not as dark. Wanted to highlight some of the figure and the grain. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.